Hello and welcome. Today we are doing something a little bit different. Really, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work out. This is a whole new thing. I have been thinking about it for a while. Let me get into it. So my plan is to start introducing factories from other people. I want this to be about factories that aren't just mine. This is a platform, and it'll be good to showcase what you can come up with. I want to see other things. There's probably, I'm always certain that someone out there is doing something that is awesome and that we don't know about it because they don't have the platform to be able to show it. So I want to bring other people's factories to YouTube, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to invite people to submit their factories, and then we're going to have a wander around, and maybe the format will develop as new things, as I make mistakes and figure stuff out. But this is going to be episode 1, and today we are looking around a factory from a viewer called the Unfortunate Watcher. I've got him to record a little intro about how this factory came into being. So let's have a listen to that. Just before we get into the main core of the video, I just want to warn you, just entirely due to a mistake on my end, Mr. Unfortunate Watcher now sounds a bit like a robot. It's entirely my fault. I now understand why when people are streaming on the internet they wear headphones. In fairness to me, my focus was entirely on the performance aspect of the thing. What was I going to say? What was I going to do? That was where my mind was. And it was only when I finished that part of it and I started to move towards this part of it, the editing side, which is where we are now, post-production, that I realised I'd made a bit of a mistake. So this is all a learning experience, I'm trying to correct my errors as I go along. So episode 1, error number 1, wear headphones whilst recording. Or at least whilst we're doing this kind of collaboration stuff. Anyway, let's get back to the main video and welcome the robot version of Unfortunate Watcher.
So hello everyone, this is Unfortunate Watcher. This is my second space exploration run, aptly named Run 2, because I couldn't come up with a better name for the save file, so I just put in my second run and I was done with that. I started this run because I had absolutely no idea what I was doing in the first run, because I had spent a couple months or so playing a different mod, and so I came back to this, looked at my base, and sat there and said, what am I doing? So instead of trying to puzzle out everything in there, I decided I'll start fresh, I'll relearn everything, I'll try out some new mods, some new quality of life mods, and just get up and running and get this done. So now you can see where my progress is at now, and Bigfoot will decide how much of an idiot I was whenever I designed everything.
We are in, and I honestly don't know what I'm looking at, but I want to start at the beginning. I want to try and get to the bottom of the beginning of wow, there's a lot of stuff here. Oh my goodness. Crikey. Alright, this is going to take a little bit of getting... Okay. So wait a second, this is a novice, but these are all green conveyor belts. Oh, these are the fast conveyor belts. Got it. Not the
These
space.
are from a mod.
Oh, they're from a mod?
Yes.
Right, that explains that. It's a forest of green, isn't it?
It's very beautiful. Actually, let's pick you up a set of armor here, actually.
It's all very neat. Is it all... So this is all controlled by robots?
Yes, this is the mini bot mall.
Gotcha.
So there's a set of armor down here, thruster suit. That way you can move about.
Oh, yep. Bingo. Right, so what I want to do... Let's have a look at the map. Right, so we're in the shopping mall, are we? And then you've got the main production all set up in grids. Is that right?
It's more of a basic production, to be honest. I kind of started out with it, then I realized that I needed to go into space to get more objects, and so I created my own little area up here that kind of handled that. So it's
Yeah, but
main production's actually still up here, but the basic stuff is down here.
So
in the grid.
I mean, you've got this enormous grid of stuff, which, I mean, it doesn't look like it's been finished. Is that, or did you go for something, abandon that and go for something else?
I realized that whenever I first kind of started, I thought to myself, I'll start off with the basic kind of bus, split off everything, get everything kind of built up. Then I'll use it to jump into the grid.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I never got into the grid part of
Oh, right, I
getting everything
see.
tileable. It looks nice and neat. It's great for expansion. Unfortunately, it never worked out for me to actually have everything down there.
Yeah, I mean, the rigid grid is something that I never really could get to grips with. I'll be completely honest. You know, setting down a grid before placing a factory in it, you're forcing yourself to come up with the same block size for every block of factory you're going to build. And, you know, some parts of the factory, they tend to be different sizes. I could never get on with a consistent fixed grid, you know, something that you built from day one and then you tried to kind of impose your factory upon it. It never really worked for me. You got quite far building the grid though, didn't you? Wow.
Yep, since I had a steady stream of iron, steel, and stone just from moving around, since stone was everywhere in this map, I just had plenty of stone to use on rails.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, that's not. Yeah, but it's not necessarily the material cost. It's the effort cost. You know, there's a fair amount of time and effort that goes into setting up something like this.
If you want to, actually, we can go back up north and we can grab one of the aircraft.
So I don't crash into anything.
Nah, don't worry about that.
Ooh. All right. Okay. Super slips. So do you not name your train stations?
Some I do, some I don't. If there's like an explicit purpose or there's multiple of them, I'll name them with that name. But if they're just like a general one, I'll just kind of ignore it until I need it.
Wow, I am religious. I'm almost anal about the naming of the train stations. It annoys me when I look in my list of train stations and I see a name in there that I don't want. It's like a little niggle. I just have to go and fix it. Ingots on a train.
Yeah, the idea, let's see. I don't remember if I was the one who set this up or not. Since this is a multiplayer game, there's sometimes people would hop in whenever I would go onto the Arendelle Discord, and I would say, hey, doing my run right now, anyone can join, this is the stuff. And people would join up and they would help out.
Oh, wow. And they just add whatever they felt like it, I suppose.
Yep. Usually they'd ask, what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And I'd say, I'm looking at copper at the moment, or I'm looking for more iron at the moment. And they would just be like, okay. And then I'd kind of look back at them in a couple hours, and suddenly they have an entire factory built that looks 10 times better than mine.
Ingots on a train. So I just love my conveyor belts. I'll be honest. I love putting stuff on conveyor belts. I love seeing a nice big bus of just loads of stuff on conveyor belts. I know it's probably not the best for UPS reasons. People have talked to me about these things.
When you get into space exploration, I think trains are a bit more needed due to if you have a kind of base that you have and you're launching rockets from there, it's a lot easier to get the ingots to the rocket using trains than it is using belts.
Oh, I see where you're going, yeah. That's kind of a little bit beyond where I am with my run at the moment. I haven't quite reached that point. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Logistics is always a nightmare to deal with.
Yeah, and it's not something that it's not a decision I've had to make yet. So maybe I'm looking at these and going, "Oh, ingots on a train. That's quite interesting." And in maybe another couple of hundred hours, I'm going to find myself putting ingots on a train. That's not completely unreasonable. Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff that I still yet to figure out with this SpaceX stuff. And now iron plate on a train. Yeah, yeah. Ingots I understand. I can understand the reasoning for. I don't understand plates on a train. into factory processes, I've always just put it on the conveyor belt. It's always just been the easier thing for me. I suppose if you're going with a grid of this size and dimensions, then, you know, nothing is unreasonable. Whoa, those... Is that a train?
Yes.
Jesus, they're like lightning.
It's the supersonic locomotive map.
Jesus.
The supersonic high-speed train mod.
I thought it was a fly on my monitor.
It's only the Mark 1, so it's not quite as fast as the higher.
Seriously? Oh my god. That was ridiculously fast. Does it increase the danger that they're going fast, or does it decrease the danger that you're going to be hit by them?
It's a bit of a trade-off. As long as you don't stand on top of the tracks, you're usually fine. And they pass by fast enough that you don't really see them.
Yeah.
So it's less risk if you're not on the tracks, but if you're just standing on them, you're gonna get killed eventually.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I actually naturally get nervous just running on a train track. Even if I'm just starting a base and there's no trains running around, if I find myself running along a train track, there's something in my gut that just gets nervous. I've got a collection of clips that I'm kind of I don't know what I'm going to use them for just yet, but of where just I happen to be recording and a train just happens to come out of nowhere and just hit me. You know, I just happened to cross a railway, and at that moment a train just happened to cross. Like, I've got like 4 or 5 clips of them that I've been recording. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, if I'm being honest, but you know, trains. They
make it into an outro.
Well, I was thinking of what one video that I haven't kind of done is like a Factorio review, and in my mind I was going to make it like a funny review because obviously it's a good game, or at least I think it's a good game. It would be silly for me to actually critique it because I play it so much, so I was just going to make it this whole joke, and I was going to make the joke that as a player of Factorio, we are more in danger from our own trains than we are from actual biters. Like, I'll get killed a dozen times in a factory from a train, but if a biter kills me, I feel like they've got lucky. It's like, you know, the trains are really the bigger danger to us in the kind of the grand scheme of things. Train tracks are a nightmare.
Welcome to the power plant.
Holy moly. What are these donuts along the side?
So these are concentrated solar power plants from the concentrated solar power mod. They
heat up,
quite expensive,
but they
produce heat.
And then you run them through a heat pipe like the nuclear power.
Basically just.
Oh, it's like it's like one of those geothermal solar array thingamajigs. I got it. Okay, so how do you keep track of where all these underground belts are going, or is it just you just continually putting on layer upon layer? Because I would look at this and I would say, well, you know, because what I don't like is situations like this where we've got an underground belt directly leading into another one, because I like to see that belt is working. Like, I like to put a gap between them and then put a belt in there. That's how I do things, so I can see what's going on. But I know that's just me. I know that. So how do you keep track of where all this is going, or is it just like you know that it works and then you just put a new one on top of wherever you can find space?
Well, with this area, I set this up, and then I kind of just left it alone, and I figured out, all right, I'll just leave it here. I'll let it run since it works. And I have not actually had to change this for a long time. The most I've done is actually with circuits. Regarding, if you kind of look up here to the science.
Oh yeah.
Rocket.
Oh right. Oh, we've got a rocket. Okay, I've got you.
So this one brings science up to my orbit base, and the only deal I've had to deal with this is running the science up to it, and that's the latest addition to this area. I set up the cargo sections and the factory over here.
We've got a whole lot of factory in this box, haven't we? Or have we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just pop on in.
Ah, right. Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. This is the factory. This is where the stuff is happening. This is why I can't find anything. Oh, right. Okay. Does this have benefits for, like, UPS stuff to put it all in a box that you can't see?
Probably. It probably does help to have it where it just has to track what's going on, not what's actually happening. since this is technically a separate surface in
Yeah,
this area.
yeah.
If you hit the map and then you kind of look out and you zoom
Oh my
out,
goodness.
you can see it's a giant array of
It's like a chessboard.
independent boxes.
Wow. See, I've seen people play around with this. What is it? A warehouse that these things are called? What are these things?
Factorissimo.
Factorissimo. I've seen people play around with them. Like I've noticed them on a few videos on YouTube, but it's always felt like you're hiding the interesting stuff.
For me, it was this was back whenever these actually contained the pollution.
Okay, what?
So
There was
I
a.
used this as a way to control the pollution because I was getting attacked by biters, and so I needed a way to not have to deal with pollution.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, it's a bit of a cheat, but I suppose.
I was happy to have my little cheats here.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that's one of the great joys about Factorio is that you can kind of choose your own game. You can build your own game depending on how you want to play it. You know, if there's something that you want to have in the game that the game doesn't have, then there's almost certainly a mod for it somewhere. You know, there's almost certainly someone else who has felt the same way. Yeah. I like to see all this stuff. I like to run around the factory and see all this stuff. It's just to hide it away in a box. It just feels like a shame to me.
It basically doubles or triples the amount of space that I have.
I'm sure it has all sorts of benefits. I mean, you've already listed a couple of them, but you know, I genuinely, one of the things I would like to do if I'm bored in the game of an evening and I don't even, you know, just pop a film on and just do little bits and pieces, just run around and fix little things. So the idea of, I don't know, just the idea of running from box to box, it's just a different way of playing the game, I suppose. It's just the way it is. So I mean, how are you finding the logistics of sending the stuff to the platform? Because you haven't got any kind of. Are you just running it all from bots? Let me have a think.
So you can kind of inspect it to look at how I'm doing it. Is that I basically just control the inserters.
So you just
the desired amounts I want to have, and then I let it load.
You deliver a full cargo more or less every time.
I try to.
Is it the same cargo every time?
So far it has been. I've made some changes.
Oh no. So, but
is-
it's programmed to deliver the same amount of resources and the same quantities and the same kind of catalog of stuff to the platform every time it launches. Those quantities aren't kind of varied depending on what the thing you're sending it to needs.
I don't have it linked so that it requests stuff. The actual requests that are linked up are up here in the launching area. The delivery cannons. These are actually linked up to my space base. If you see this giant radar station right here, it is set as the space base. And whenever something gets below a certain amount, it will tell them to allow the delivery cannon to load, and it'll launch stuff out.
Yeah, so the delivery cannons, are they going to a variety of different places?
Most of these are going to my space. A couple of them are going to other planets.
Right. I would just feel like overwhelmed by this kind of system, what you've laid down here. Like trying to keep track of it. But I suppose if you're building it and you're kind of keeping track of it as you build it, then...
Well, there's a rocket launching off right now.
Yeah, I just spotted that. Then I suppose you're kind of... the story that you told at the beginning, where you were like, you built a factory, your first go in SpaceX, and you came back to it and you're like, you preferred to start again rather than to try and understand the mess that you'd made the first time around. I suppose this kind of factory design, you really need to kind of have a lot in you need to remember how you put it together, almost. You know, in which box, you know, I know these labels, but in which of these warehouses is the specific thing? Me personally, I would just feel like I'm getting lost all the time.
Do you have the alt view on?
I do, yeah.
And so I use the labels that show up on the top of them to know what's in them.
On top of the warehouses, yeah, but you've got where these. I'm going to call them warehouses. You've got warehouses with warehouses inside, and then warehouses inside of the warehouses. So isn't there a limit to how much you can kind of show on the top? I suppose you've got multiple icons here.
So this was built by Lord from the Arendelle Discord. He graciously hopped in and set this up, and I have people label what they do.
Really? Oh right, oh yeah, I've got you. Built by Toby Lordlard. Nice. Yeah, you see, I'm still reluctant about letting people in any of my maps. Still reluctant. I feel like if I let someone come in and do something, I'm just going to look at it and go, I want what I want. Maybe I should. I should.
This big. There's not very much to worry about.
Yeah, I think it's probably something I need to subject myself to at some point. You know, I need to open my yeah, maybe. To be honest, it's like the SpaceX. There's a whole. I now understand. I mean, I've been looking at SpaceX for a while, and to be honest, I've been kind of happy in vanilla Factorio or Angel and Bob. What else I've been getting on with, and it struck me as unusual for the developers of Factorio to essentially decide to take that mod and develop a whole new DLC around it. You know, I felt like, wow, what are they going to be able to bring to the game that the mod doesn't already do? And I think playing...
It was developed by the same guy.
I know.
Arendelle.
Yeah, I know the story. But having played it, I now understand why. Because it's really freaking cool to build bases on other planets, connect them together. You know, you might need a small base on this particular planet because it's not got the resources. It's only got a small amount of resources. You might need a big one over here. And then being able to kind of build and regulate the flow of those and the logistics and the circuit networks. It is a very, very fun challenge, and it's changed my perception on the upcoming DLC. I mean, I was pretty excited about it beforehand, to be honest, but now that I kind of understand why, man, I think it's going to be excellent. It's going to be so good, the DLC. When that drops, it's going to.
I've been looking through the whenever the fun facts come out every Friday.
Yeah,
it's always fun to look through that.
Yeah, it is. I don't do it often enough. I mean, there's a part of me that wants to pretend like it doesn't exist, and then so that when it is there, I'm not. You know, by reading the Friday facts every week, I feel like I'm reminding myself that it's not here yet. Every week, I feel like I have to pretend like I ignore it, pretend like it's never going to arrive, and then when it does, because we still don't have a date for it yet. We still don't have a fixed kind of release date as far as I'm aware. It's just kind of vaguely in August at some point.
I am more than happy for them to take their time making it. Every single time they come up with something new, it's a wonderful improvement.
If we look around, I've been thinking about this recently actually. You know, there's games out there which I played and they've done sequels to and they've just butchered. Like Kerbal Space Program. I got a lot of fun out of Kerbal Space Program. I mean, I got it to a point where I thought, okay, at this point I need a astrophysics degree or some PhD or something to be able to understand what's going on, because, you know, in order to understand how to navigate spaceflight and all that. Anyway, but they've released Kerbal Space Program 2 and it's just rubbish. Like they've essentially cancelled it and sacked all the staff. It feels like something's happening similar with Prison Architect. I played a lot of Prison Architect, City Skylines. You know, there's a whole lot of games out there where sequels are being made where probably a sequel wasn't probably necessary, and they're just rubbish. Whereas I'm like you. I'm like, you know, the longer they spend on it, you know, the Factorio never crashes, and considering all of the stuff that's going on in the game, you know, it's a real solid experience. Even in the days of early access, I don't think I ever had any significant problems with it. It always ran well. It always felt like a solidly programmed game, like it'd been put together well.
The only reason I've ever had issues with Factorio is because I was running it on a laptop and because I was using mods. That's the only two issues I've ever had with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it runs beautifully even on the laptop.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, you could probably have not installed the mods and maybe brought the graphics settings down a little bit, and you'd probably been fine on a laptop, I would imagine.
I knocked it down to like medium settings for everything. Ran fine. It actually ran this base. So I ran this whole base
Yeah.
on my laptop.
Yeah.
And I had. It was still hitting 60 frames.
Yeah.
No issues.
It's always felt like a very, very just solidly put together. Just the mechanics of the game just felt like they. And maybe that's indicative, you know, of why it's taken them so long to put the DLC together. I mean, they are, I suppose, trying to jerry-rig a new game on top of the old one, which has got a whole load of new mechanics, which they probably didn't anticipate when they made the original.
Well, I love the elevated train rails. Like,
Oh.
no one saw that as a mod, but putting that in as a feature is beautiful.
Oh man, I'm imagining in my mind like overlapping rail networks that don't intersect. I'm imagining in my mind like a rail network just for iron, or a rail network just for coal, or then you can have no traffic, no bottlenecks. That really appeals to me. I don't know whether I'll actually do it, but just in my mind, just the fact that it's possible. Yeah, elevated trains, that's very exciting. I mean, that's a really sad thing to say, isn't it? Elevated trains.
Not really.
It
means that you know what's gonna come in, and you're gonna be ready for it.
Yeah.
You already have ideas.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna be awesome.
It's a fundamental change to the mechanic that we're already used to, which is that at the moment, if you've got two train tracks and they cross, it's a potential for trains to crash, collide, get in each other's way, bottleneck, all sorts. Whereas just putting an elevated thing, suddenly we can make a perfect train network. Or at least that's how it works in my mind. Anyway, let's continue looking around, because we've kind of got sidetracked by the joys of SpaceX. What else do I want to look at? This is going to be fast, isn't it?
Oh yes, this is the supersonic trains. You can hop on the other end, I think, if it won't let you in here.
Okay. Okay, I'm on.
You'll notice the one next to you, the train next to you, has the nuclear artillery shell on it.
Right.
So we're going to have a bit of fun with the biters down south.
Oh, is that what you've been using to create carnage on the landscape?
Indeed.
Whoa. Oh.
Am I losing you?
Boy, it's struggling just a touch. Wow.
Welcome to the bottom of the map.
How much low density structure did you spend up here? Man.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, wow. See, there was me on my little platform trying to really conserve space, trying to keep it all nice and tight, and I suppose this is what most people probably do, give them a bit of space. So you haven't got the space elevator thingy-bob set up yet?
Oh no, that's way down the line.
Yeah. And it looks like you've cornered in a spacecraft. Is that so? Can that spacecraft still get out?
Yes. So the way that it moves is not through actual direct movement on the grid. It's through the layer system.
Through a magic portal.
Yes.
Nice. So, what is your plan for this base? I mean, are you done with it? Are you going to be still working on it?
I think I'm going to do a actual rail setup here. Once I have space rails, I'm actually just going to start expanding as much as I can. I'm just going to put rails everywhere. Because belts are horrendously slow and expensive in this space area. At least the space belts are. And so it's a lot easier to kind of have it so I send a train to an area, have it built there, have another train send it out, instead of having to build it everywhere back across the area, because these builds are going to get huge. because the buildings are insanely big.
They are.
And the pipes are not very conductive towards doing things.
So this is still a work in progress then. Your plan is to come back and to expand further.
Yes, right now I have been just building up space science, but I've pretty much exhausted all of the basic level of things that I already have, because astronomic space science is going to be my next step, and that is still a work in progress, as it's currently deadlocked.
It's not a dead factory. That's essentially where I'm getting at. You know, it's something that you're planning on coming back and working on.
Yep, I am missing a couple things actually. Let me see. Oh, I'm already debugging this as I'm looking at it.
Yeah, but that for me is kind of one of the fun parts of Factorio, is that when you've built something and you know it kind of inside out, just running around it, you almost notice things that I'm never going to see because I don't understand. You know, I didn't build it. It's not in my mind.
So head into this factory I have here in orbit. So I have one.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, so I'm going to do a little bit of black magic here because... So this is the nice thing about having all of the factories on a single surface. Hop on it.
Oh, we're gonna visit the checkerboard of little factories.
All right. So, can you guess where we're at now?
Oh, we're back on Novice. So. That is some serious black magic.
This is probably my favorite bit of the Factorissimo mod, is that since it's all on a single surface and airplanes can fly over the boundaries, I can fly wherever I want.
Once
I
you're
can
in
skip using rockets. I can skip using rockets.
for your own
I can
personal
just go-
travel, yeah.
So I can go to the planets I've already landed on. As long as I bring a factory with me, I can just pop it down. I can show up.
The secret portal, a factory, a big warehouse, and suddenly you've got access to the whole galaxy.
Unfortunate part is that I can't move resources over automated.
But that
so
would kind of defeat the purpose of space exploration, I think.
this is mainly for my ease of use and
Yes,
convenience of not having to use a rocket to get everywhere.
Exactly. I understand. Although someone did tell me in one of the comments that I needed 6 bases. So I'm imagining one on Novice, one on the Novice platform, and then I've got one on Mariel. You haven't got one on Mariel, have you? So where are you getting your
No.
Vulcanite from?
Oh, Vulcanite comes from Alaz. Planets have different names.
It's exactly the same. All right, okay. The planets have different names. Okay. I didn't know that.
My Vulcanite base is a bit scuffed at the moment, but it is functional.
Well, if it's for functional's half the problem. Oh, here we go. So you've got a monster uranium factory power setup. Is it going to be interesting to other people? I mean, that's really I don't really know.
It'll certainly be interesting to see how people react to my giant mess.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's the thing, and I think for people to see other types of factory, I think that's just a good thing to have, because, you know, most people won't be seeing other factory types other than people that are already established on YouTube. So I'm gonna commit to it to a certain number. Like, I'll probably do 5 or 6 before I reassess whether it's worthwhile or not, because I want to see, you know, the fun, the entertainment is going to be in the variety. You know, each individual episode might not necessarily be good or great, but it's just that by having lots of different ones, I think that's where the fun's going to be. But I don't really know. We'll see what happens, I suppose. Well, thanks for the help, man. Thank you for being around and setting it all for sticking with me, I suppose is the best way of saying it, because we've had a little bit of a faff to get to this point. Thanks for showing me around.
No problem.